What up, everybody? Welcome to my recap and reaction to WWE's Evolution, the second Evolution event that is an all women's pay-per-view or premium live event, whatever you want to call it. This is the final wrestling show of the weekend, of a jam-packed wrestling weekend. I mean, my God, man. I don't think WrestleMania weekend had this much wrestling. I mean, you had Great American Bash, you had AEW's All In, you had Saturday Night Main Event, and we cap it off with Evolution. And that's not counting SmackDown on Friday. You know, it was just a lot of wrestling this weekend, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it was a lot. It was a lot going on. But I was super excited out of everything that took place this weekend in the world of professional wrestling. Evolution, I was so excited for the simple fact I am a huge women's wrestling fan. I became a big fan of this genre of professional wrestling. I guess you could say back in NXT, you know, the Bailey Sasha Banks, or what we know her as today, Mercedes Moné. That match at TakeOver is probably the greatest women's match of all time. And from that moment on, it was off and running for me with women's wrestling, even though I didn't mind it beforehand, you know, with the Litas and the Trish Stratus, who we saw tonight, and so on in China, and you know, so on and so forth. I didn't mind all that. I actually enjoyed them as well. But for this to blow up to the point where I would rather watch women's wrestling before I watch the men's wrestling, and that's where I'm at right now mentally in professional wrestling. I'd rather watch the women because the women bring it. And not to say that some men don't, they do. I enjoy wrestling as a whole, but women just feel like every time they hit the ring, they have something to prove. And granted, in their minds, they feel they do. But to me personally, they don't have to prove anything to me because they have shown that they belong on the main stage. They have shown that they deserve their own pay-per-view. And to be honest with you, you can give them their own show. You know, you have SmackDown, you have Raw. I think you could give women another show and just their own thing, and the world would be better for it. But that's wishful thinking. That's a pipe dream. So for now, we get what we get, and we get this Evolution pay-per-view. And I hope and pray, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to repeat it countless times throughout this reaction, but I hope and pray that this isn't the last one. I hope they make this a yearly thing. You know, I was hoping that in 2018 with the first Evolution. You know, I enjoyed that. Have a yearly event just centered around the women, and they deserve it. They really do. And judging by tonight's show, they really, really deserve it. This was, out of all of the events that took place over this weekend, and that includes AEW All In, Saturday Night Main Event, and all these other shows that happened, this was the best event of the weekend. Hands down. It's not even worth debating in my mind. This was the best. 7 matches on this card, which is unusual as of late for WWE PLE. But you had 7 matches on this card, and you can make the argument that all 7 were bangers. Every single one. You know, there were some better than the others, but they all were good and within their own right. On this card, you had a triple threat match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship with Becky Lynch defending against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. You had the singles match for the NXT Women's Championship, JC Jane versus Jordan Grace. You had a fatal 4-way for the Women's WWE Tag Team Championships with Judgment Day, That's Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez defending their championships against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, along with Sol Ruka and Zoria and the Kabuki Warriors. You also had a singles match for the WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton defending her championship against the legend, the Hall of Famer, Trish Stratus. A no-holds-barred match between Jade Cargill and Naomi, with Bianca Belair as the special guest referee. And you had a battle royal for a championship match at Clash in Paris that takes place next month. And then the main event, a singles match for the Women's World Championship between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, who has never beaten Io Sky. And they really hyped that up really big leading into this match. So all 7 matches had huge implications, championship matches all around. Let's jump right into it. There's a lot to go over in tonight's PLE, starting off with our triple threat match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. Bayley versus Laura Valkyria versus the champion Becky Lynch. This kicked off the show, and I knew automatically that this was going to set the tone for the rest of the night. Before the bell rung, before the intros of the performers, I just knew. Number one, I don't care what nobody says. Bayley is probably, if not one of the greatest women's wrestlers, period, in history, period. Hands down, she is phenomenal. And so I knew she was going to bring it. Becky Lynch, of course. Becky Lynch is just that pillar that's going to bring it and give it her all. And Laura Valkyria is an up-and-coming performer who I think in 5 years from now, we're going to be putting her up there with Bayley's and the Becky's as one of the best, because she is excellent in the ring. Her promo skills, it still needs some tweaking, but it has gotten better over the last few months here. And so these 3 women kicked off the show, and it was just as the doctor ordered. This was a phenomenal, tremendous triple threat main event. Well, it wasn't a main event, but it could have been. It could have easily been the main event of this show. It was phenomenal from start to finish. All 3 women brought their A game to this match. It's one of the best matches of the weekend. Of every single show that took place this weekend is one of the best. You can tell that these 3 women were hungry for a win here. They told a story between the ropes, stemming back to WrestleMania just a few months back, where Becky Lynch took out Bayley before WrestleMania and took her spot, and Becky and Laura went on to win the tag team championships, and they lost the championships, and Becky turned on Laura, and Bayley came back about 2 or 3 months after, attacked Becky. Then Becky won the Intercontinental Championship. Bayley went after that championship. Laura got involved. Now those 2 are beefing, and all 3 women in this match had an issue with one another for one reason or another, and it was all displayed within this match. All of them had got their spots in, near finishes. I don't recall any botches in this match. It just looked so clean. It just felt like a super main event match, which it was. I don't care if it was the first match of the night. It was a super main event in my eyes. In that finish, that pin by Becky Lynch was, and I know this is going to sound like hyperbole, I'm just recency bias or whatever the case may be. That was probably one of the greatest pins I've ever saw since watching wrestling, and I've been watching professional wrestling for 40 years. So cool. I've never seen a pin like that. Rolling off the back of Bailey as she is pinning Lyra and hooking the arm and able to flip Bailey over and pin her all in one seamless move was so awesome. It was so awesome. And Becky Lynch retains the women's WWE Intercontinental Championship. This was a phenomenal match. Of course, I grade every match on a letter grade system, and this match gets an A. It was awesome. It set the tone for the rest of the night. And you needed a match like this to set the tone. You couldn't come out weak and hope to build up to something grand later on. This is how you structure a PLE or pay-per-view or even a Raw or a SmackDown. You come out with the big banger and it sets the tone, and you hope and wish and pray that the rest of the night can get to that point, if not exceed it. And it really did a marvelous job. Hats off to all three women in this match. A banger of a triple threat match. And triple threat matches are hard to pull off. At least they're hard to please me, because it can get messy. When you get into these multi-men or multi-women matches, it gets messy. And we had one later on that was a little messy. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. It's just too much going on in the ring. Too much to pay attention to or try to pay attention to. But when you have these type of matches, you need everybody to be on the same page. And this was perfect chemistry between these three women. We move on to match 2 of WWE's Evolution, and this was a singles match for the NXT Women's Championship. JC Jane defending her championship against Jordan Grace. And JC Jane, she had fatal influence. I'm about to say attraction, but fatal influence in her corner. And Jordan Grace had Blake Monroe in her corner. And if you don't know who Blake Monroe is, that, of course, is Mariah May from AEW. But I know a lot of people don't watch NXT, for one reason or another. But NXT is good. It's decent. It's developmental. So you really can't gauge it in the same light as a Raw, SmackDown, or even AEW Dynamite and all that. You gotta look at it as up and comers. You're not looking for barn burners of a match. And so a lot of people don't watch it, and a lot of people don't know what's going on and the history and the story behind these matches and these feuds. And you had Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. They just teamed up for the Great American Bash. What that was, Saturday, and they fought Fatal Influence, and I keep wanting to say Attraction, but Fatal Influence, and they beat them. They beat Fatal Influence leading up to this. Now, if you don't know anything about Blake Monroe, aka Mariah May from AEW, well, Mariah May is her actual name. That's her real name. But if you don't know anything about her, in AEW, she was phenomenal. Her matches with Tony Storm are the stuff of legend. And I absolutely loved it. And I don't even watch AEW like that. But their Hollywood ending match from last year or beginning of this year, I can't remember when, was probably one of the best women's matches I've seen this year. I'll put it up there. I'll have to go through the annals of history to see, or at least for the last 7 months to see if there are any other women's matches that can mount up to that. But this match they had at AEW was phenomenal. And I was excited when she signed with WWE. A little surprised she went straight to NXT, but that's normally how it goes. They go to NXT first and then so on. But the point I'm trying to get at before all this rambling is that when she was in AEW, she was a heel, and she's a great heel. And they had her as a babyface in NXT. She's teaming with Jordan Grace and this, that, and the third. I knew she was going to turn heel. I knew exactly how this match was going to go before they started the match. And so it didn't shock me. It didn't surprise me. It was what it was. It was an NXT match. It's nothing that you would write home and tell mom about, but it was all right. It was a typical NXT match. And in the end, Blake Monroe turns heel and calls Jordan Grace the championship match. JC Jane retains. And now the question mark is Blake Monroe joining Fatal Influence? So I don't know. I don't think that's the right move. Now, I can see her leading that faction, but she's not the champion. And so we'll see how that goes. But as far as this match, it was fine. I give this NXT Women's Championship match a C+. It was decent. It was slightly above average. The only thing of note was the heel turn by Blake Monroe that you probably saw coming from 30 miles away. And so we move on to the third match of this PLE, and it is a fatal four-way tag team match for the Women's Tag Team Championship. The Judgment Day defending their championships against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Sol Ruka and Zarya, and the Kabuki Warriors. This is an example of what I was speaking on earlier with these multi-person matches. It was too much going on in this match. You have four tag teams. Now, granted, you only have two people in the ring at once, but it was still so much going on. And at one point, you didn't know who was the legal person, and because you can tag anybody in. It doesn't have to be your partner. You can tag anybody into the match, and it was just confusing. And now there were some nice spots in it. There was some interesting storytelling going on inside of this match. But overall, it was all right, but messy at the same time. Yeah, we got to see Sol Ruka snatch somebody's soul. I think it was Charlotte Flair she hit with the soul snatcher, which was cool. It was cool because it was out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. She is going to be phenomenal when she gets to the main roster. I can't wait for that. We saw the progression of Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. I guess you could say friendship within this match, and that was interesting. Kind of pushed that story along a little further. And dare I say that Charlotte Flair is likable? She's starting to be likable now with this pairing with Alexa Bliss. Very odd to hear the crowd cheer for Charlotte Flair. And is not odd from me because I like Charlotte Flair. I never understood the hatred for Charlotte Flair. Yes, does she win too much? Sure, she does. She does. But as of late, she hasn't. She really hasn't. Just think back for the past few years, and I know she was out for about a year with that knee injury, but prior to that, she didn't win that much. She didn't win too many championships. So I never understood the narrative since she's been back that, she always gets a championship opportunity. Well, she's Charlotte Flair. She's one of the best, and she is one of the best. You can say what you want about her personality or whatever. Never met the woman, so I can't speak on it. But in the ring, she's a beast. She is an absolute beast. But she has become likable since she's been paired up with Alexa Bliss, and it's good to see. But in the end, all of that didn't matter because the Judgment Day, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, retained their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. This match also gets a C+. Decent. It was decent. I don't hate nothing so far, and I was starting to get nervous. I'm gonna be honest. I was starting to get nervous. I was sitting there, and once again, this is me as a women's wrestling fan. I was waiting for the ball to drop here. I was waiting for something to mess up, and in one match in particular that's coming up. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But I was starting to feel a little nervous because I was enjoying this too much. Too much. I was expecting to be entertained, but I wasn't expecting to be on the edge of my seat excited for this. I was in every match, even the matches that I felt are subpar. Well, not subpar, but par. Just average. I was enjoying them. And so that leads us to our WWE Women's Championship match, where we have the Hall of Famer Trish Stratus challenging the champion Tiffany Stratton for that championship. And once again, a big fan of both of these women. Trish Stratus grew up on her. She was on SmackDown the other night with that shirt, Your First Crush, and that was pretty accurate. She wasn't my first, but definitely was a crush. Was. Who am I kidding? Still is. But yeah, man, I was a big fan of hers back then, back during the Attitude Era and everything. And to see her in this match, and Tiffany Stratton, who is still developing, let's not kid ourselves, she isn't the Bailey. That's not fair. I shouldn't compare her to anybody there. She just isn't great yet. She has that championship belt, but I don't think she's a true, boom, boom, great champion. But she has taken out some champions since she has the belt. She's beaten Bailey, she's beaten Nia, she's beaten who else she's beaten? Oh, Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Yeah, she's beaten some top tier talent since she's been champion. And now she's going up against arguably one of the greats, one of the GOATs in Trish Stratus. Now, granted, it's been 20 years since Trish Stratus has been a champion. And so, does she still have it? Well, I'm here to announce she does. Trish Stratus hasn't missed a beat. Not to mention that she still looks the same. I don't know what water she's drinking. I don't know what she's doing. I know she's into yoga, but my God, Tiffany Stratton, not Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus, same initials, hasn't aged a day, and it still looks phenomenal in the ring. Still can do what she can do. Now, Trish Stratus doesn't have a move set, or has ever had a move set of a Io Sky or a you know what I'm saying? She wasn't a high flyer, ground and pound type wrestler, but she did what she did, and it was enjoyable for what she did. She still hasn't lost a step, and she really brought a good match out of Tiffany Stratton here. I really enjoyed this match. I was into this match. I thought this was going to be the match that I can kind of take a break, use the bathroom, go grab something to eat out the refrigerator while this is going on. But no, this was not the intermission portion of the show. This was a phenomenal match. Just going off of who the participants was. An old veteran who hasn't wrestled regularly over the past 25 years, and a young, inexperienced wrestler. Just for an example, and it's not a fair example, but if you just look at last night, where we saw Goldberg retire, and he's going up against Gunther. Now, Gunther isn't a young, inexperienced. Gunther is probably the best wrestler in all of professional wrestling. Let's be clear. But that match, as all right as it wasn't a barn burner by no stretch. But to say that Gunther got the best Goldberg match, I would say in WWE, since he came to WWE 20-something years ago, in his retirement match, was phenomenal. But it wasn't a great match. This match was much better than that match. And this wasn't a retirement match, I don't think. I don't think Trish Stratus retired after this, even though after the match, it kind of looked like she did. But if it is, kudos, man. Hats off to her. But this was a great match. She pushed it to the limit, and at one point, I really thought that they were going to put the belt on her. She really looked phenomenal in the ring, and Tiffany Stratton looked now I'm mixing their names together. Tiffany Stratton looked phenomenal as well, as she retains her WWE Women's Championship by defeating the Hall of Famer Trish Stratus. This match gets a B plus. Yeah, it was a good match. Really good match. Wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, but it was just that good. I guess you can say I was stratified. Hey, I tried. Anyways, we move on to our fifth match of the night, and it is a no holds barred match between Jade Cargill and Naomi, with Bianca Belair as the referee. This, as we all know, all three women here, including the guest referee, has history. This stems back to Naomi attacking Jade Cargill, about a year ago, and putting her out of action for a while. Naomi teaming up with Bianca to continue being the women's tag team champions, and all the way up to Elimination Chamber when Jade Cargill returned, because nobody knew up to that point who attacked her, and she went straight after Naomi, and Naomi confessed that she was the one that attacked Jade, and Jade was upset with Bianca because she never reached out to her, or whatever the case may be. And so there's history between all three women here, and this was the blow off, and it needed to end. It just needed to end. I wasn't expected to end the way it did, but it needed to end. Let me start off by saying oh boy, I love Jade Cargill. I mean, how could you not? Look at her. Just look at her. How can you not love her? But her in-ring work is so painstaking to watch, man. I don't know why she hasn't progressed in the time that she's been in WWE. I never watched her in AEW, to be fair. I didn't watch AEW, still don't. Every now and then I'll watch a clip, but I don't religiously watch AEW. So I never watched her or any of her matches there. So I don't know if she's gotten better or she's still the same, or God forbid she's even worse. But it's hard to believe you've gotten worse or haven't progressed better with WWE, who has a performance center. If anybody needed to go straight to NXT, it was Jade Cargill. If anybody needed to work on her promo skills at the performance center and whatnot, it was Jade Cargill. But for some strange reason, they shot her to the moon, and here we are. Now, I get it. I'm not blind. I can see why they want to make her a star, because she is a star. Let's not get it twisted here. She's a star, but she hasn't progressed in the ring, man. It is hard to watch. It is hard to watch. And so we get to this match, and she's in there with Naomi, and they had a match. I forgot what PLE it was, but Naomi did the best she could to bring out something in Jade, and that was one of the better Jade Cargill matches, even though it wasn't all that good, but it was better than some, or most, I should say. Now we're in a no holds barred match, and my way of thinking, I said, okay, maybe we can get something out of this match, because we're not relegated to rules within the ropes. Now you can wander around. You can use furniture. You can use weapons. This isn't your conventional sanctioned match. And so maybe she can flourish here. So the match starts, and for the most part, I can say, okay, this was all right. This was decent. It wasn't horrible. This isn't her worst match. I don't want to say it was her best match so far, but it was close because this wasn't offensive to watch. And normally in her matches, it's offensive to watch. I actually enjoyed watching this match. Now, is it because of Naomi? Or is it because Jade Cargill felt more comfortable in this match? I don't know, but we're all blessed with this match because it turned out pretty doggone good. I actually was enjoying it until the end. Did not like the finish. Did not like the spot at the end. It looked so choreographed and fake and phony. You know, the what's her move called? Her finishing move? The KO? No, that's Bianca. I forgot what's her move. It doesn't matter, but she did it off the top rope, and it was so phony because Naomi, they didn't execute it right. It to go through the table and whatnot. They didn't execute it right, even though Naomi looked like she broke her nose on it or something, which we found out later. Spoilers, but it was just messy looking, and the fact that Bianca was there, but was Bianca there? I mean, she played no factor in this match. I thought her being included in the match was going to, include a interference or, siding with one or the other or what. I don't know. Bianca turning heel. This would have been a good spot for that, but nothing. She was just there. They could have had a normal referee there. An actual referee there, and you would have got the same match. It was no point of having her there other than to say that she was there, that she was a part of Evolution, I guess. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it was a decent match. It's probably the worst match on the card. But with that being said, it wasn't a bad match. And that's saying something. When your worst match wasn't bad on the card, you had an excellent PLE. Jade Cargill defeats Naomi in a no-holds-barred match. It gets a C. Yeah, it was all right. it was all right. But don't shed any tears for Naomi. We'll get to that in a moment. We move on to our sixth match of the night, and it was a battle royal. And in this battle royal, there was some stipulations here. It wasn't just a run-of-the-mill battle royal just to have the women involved in the match. There was actually a stipulation with stakes here because the winner of this battle royal will challenge for the world championship at Clash in Paris, which takes place at the end of August. And so there were stakes involved. That's what you need. That's what you need when you have battle royals rather than just having random battle royals. Like the Andre the Giant battle royal. What's the point of that? What's the point? Because that goes nowhere. That helps nobody. It's just there to say you was a part of the PLE, to be a part of WrestleMania or whatever the case may be. It makes no sense. And they do that in multiple tournaments and whatnot just to say that they was a part of the show. But this had actual stakes. The participants in this match, you had Ivy Nile, Nia Jax, Nikki Bella, and Nikki Bella was in this match because it was by default, because they were supposed to have a match with Nikki Bella and her sister Brie Bella challenging for the tag team championships against Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. They had set that up, but Liv Morgan got hurt and she was out. So that changed the whole PLE because it was supposed to be built around that matchup, that tag team match. And, that injury happened, unfortunately, so they had to pivot. And, you can judge for yourself how the PLE turned out, but I actually enjoyed it. I probably would have enjoyed it before. I would have been interested to see Nikki and Brie Bella back together again. But unfortunately, that didn't come to pass, and Nikki Bella was a participant in this battle royal. Also, you had Natalya, Maxine Dupree, Kiana Jordan, Jada Parker, uh, which is interesting because Carmelo Hayes just got engaged to Kalani Jordan, but Jada Parker is his ex-girlfriend. So that's a very interesting locker room, not to say the least. You also had Lola Vice, Izzy Dane, Tatum Paxley, Zelina Vega, Julia, Candice LeRae, B Fav, Meechin, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Abba Fire, Lash Legend, and Stephanie Vecchia. And this, once again, multi-person match, battle royals. A lot of too much going on. Too much going on. The Royal Rumble is one thing. See, the Royal Rumble is a slow rollout. Every 3 minutes, you get a different participant and whatnot. In a battle royal, everybody's in the ring, and that's at the start of the bell. Everybody's in the ring, and it's over the top rope elimination. That's too messy. It's too much because there's too much going on. Can't pay attention. There are eliminations happening that you don't notice or you don't see. Like, oh, how did she get eliminated? Oh, who threw her out? Or it's just so much going on. And it wasn't until it got thinner where it got interesting. When we get to the final four, it got really interesting, and especially when we got to the final two between Stephanie Vecchia and Lash Legend, it got super interesting because I was excited, over the moon happy for Lash Legend. She is a phenomenal woman, phenomenal in NXT, a powerhouse. Everybody gushes over Jordan Grace and her power, rightfully so. Nia Jax and her power, rightfully so. Jade Cargill, rightfully so. Powerful women, strong women, beautiful women. Lash Legend is just as powerful, if not as powerful as all of them. She is phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. Lash Legend power slammed Otis on NXT one time. Otis, picked him up and slammed him like he was nothing. There's no way. I couldn't pick him up. There's no way. That woman scares me. But it was good to see her get some shine here, get some recognition. But unfortunately, it was all for naught because she was eliminated last by Stephanie Vecchia. Stephanie Vecchia will go on to clash in Paris to take on whoever the women's champion is at that time. This is cool. As messy as it was cool because you got storylines that were playing out throughout the match. Whenever they did have time to focus on those little storylines, it was fun. It was a fun little match. Excited for Stephanie Vecchia. She is phenomenal. She is phenomenal. And to say that she, that English isn't her first language, she really is improving with her promo. Her English, it sounds good. And she cut a promo at the end and got me hyped up. I'm excited for her. I really am. I like her. Not to mention, yes, I got a crush on her. How could you not? That is a gorgeous woman. Beautiful woman, but she is beautiful in the ring too. She is phenomenal in that ring, and there's nowhere to go but up with Stephanie Vecchia. I cannot wait to see who she challenges for that women's championship. The Battle Royal that saw Stephanie Vecchia come out victorious gets a letter grade of a B. Yeah, I thought it was good for a Battle Royal. Normally I'm not into these because, like I said before, I'm disgusted at times with Battle Royals, but this was really good. This was entertaining at the very least. And so that leads us to our main event, and it is for the Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley challenging Io Sky for that belt. This is a match that has been hyped up. due to the fact that Rhea Ripley, as dominant as she is, phenomenal as she is, has never beaten, I should say, Io Sky in a match. Never. And this is going back to NXT. This is going back to the Mae Young Classic, if you can remember that. She has never beaten Io Sky. And Io Sky is she deserves the spot that she's been given as champion. She is unbelievable inside and outside the ring. Once again, English isn't her first language, but has gotten better through time, and she has found the way to get the crowd behind her, to get herself over. Her work in the ring, there's nothing to convince there. She's the empress of the sky. So she is phenomenal. And I knew that these two women, despite the fact that they have conflicting styles inside the ring, were going to put on a banger. And it was a banger. This was an unexpected, unbelievable match. And I'm ashamed to say that because I knew that this was going to be a good match. But they put on a match that was so worthy of a main event. And we just went through the card, and you had some great matches. You had some really good matches, nothing bad, but this was a phenomenal premium live event. And you needed to finish with a bang. And they did. They finished with a bang with this match. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley tore the house down. When you got that rep bump and they took it to the stands, took it to the seats, flipping off of or jumping off of stage things or whatever it was, those containers, beating each other on steps and kicking each other and power bombing on the floor and all these other, I'm like, my God, they are about to what are they doing here? I'm like, to be honest with you, when it happened, when the rep bump happened, I got a little mad because up to that point, it was a 5-star A+ match in my humble opinion. They were doing that good, and I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna ruin the match. They're really gonna ruin this match like that with the foolishness, and then you spill out outside of the ring into the crowd, and you're like, okay, this is all right, but what's going on here? When are we going to get to the end of this match? How are they going to end this match? They finally work their way back to the ring, and we get probably one of the best false finishes, definitely of the night, but I have seen in a long time, with that moonsault onto Rhea Ripley, and timed perfectly by the ref. She came in and counted 1, 2, and Rhea Ripley kicked out. You're like, oh, what? She kicked out of that? It was great. And only for Rhea Ripley. And I cannot recall, and I'm pretty sure somebody will correct me on it, but I cannot recall Rhea Ripley doing a Spanish fly off the top rope ever in my life. I cannot, and I think I've seen every match, close to every match that she's been a part of. I can't recall her doing that, but she did it tonight. And boy, was it executed perfectly. Only for Naomi's music to hit. Once again, I didn't bring it up before, but Naomi is Miss Money in the Bank. She runs in, nose bandaged, still bleeding from her nose from her match with Jade Cargill, cashes in her Money in the Bank championship, not championship, but briefcase, takes that same briefcase, busts Io Sky over the head with it, throws Rhea Ripley out the ring, hits her split moonsault off the top rope on Io Sky. 1, 2, 3. Naomi is the new Women's World Champion. Mwah! Chef's kiss. what a way to put an exclamation point on at the end of this show. This was the best PLE WWE has had all year. And yes, I'm including WrestleMania. This was phenomenal from top to bottom. I have no qualms with these matches, with this card. Yeah, some didn't deliver as great as others, but even the weakest match on this card was entertaining. I loved WWE Evolution, and I'm hoping, praying, and wishing that this becomes an annual thing. I hope that they give these women the stage, and if anything was proven tonight, WWE has the greatest women's roster, period. Period. Those women are phenomenal, and we didn't even get to see all of them. That's the crazy part. We didn't even get to see all of the women that are in the WWE locker room. They performed. They did a awesome job and put everybody else to shame. This was the best of the weekend. This was the best of WWE this year, and I'm just over the moon excited. I'm so happy for those women. Those women deserve all the flowers, all the accolades, and all the praise for putting on this banger of a PLE. I would love to know, what were your thoughts of tonight's WWE Evolution? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was the best event of the weekend? Do you think it's the best WWE show of the year? Or do you think it was average? Do you think it was meh? I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to know the people who didn't enjoy this PLE. Please, and give me a valid reason. Don't just say I hated it. No, tell me why. And be real with it. And look, this is a judgment-free zone. If you have an honest opinion and it's your opinion, I want to hear it, I would love to hear it. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to Faces and Heels here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this recap and reaction to WWE's Evolution. Stay tuned for the next, in 2 weeks, I think? 3 weeks? I know it's right around the corner for SummerSlam, and that's going to be a 2-nighter. They have expanded SummerSlam to 2 nights, just like WrestleMania. So, it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of work, but hopefully it's going to be fun work, and not like this year's WrestleMania where it was like pulling teeth, man, those 2 nights. But I will be, whether it's bad, good, or ugly, I will be here to recap and react to it. Y'all be good until then. Peace.